Welcome back. Well, yes, we turn our attention to politicians, discuss some matters this morning. Both of them, Senator Ayo Arishe is here with us. He is a member of the APC and former chairman, House Senate Committee on Privatization, And then we've got Daniel Bola, who is a spokesperson, Atiku Okowa Presidential Campaign Council, who joins us virtually. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today on the program.
Good morning, Chamberlain.
Good morning.
Compliments of the season to you.
Thank you. Well, they may both be in holiday mood, but I don't know at the end of the day if they will be smiling, depending on who clinches the ticket. It may not even be any one of them. Who knows? Could it be the one who is not here with us, the party that is not here at the moment? Who knows? But let me start with you, Senator, concerning what's playing out in the National Assembly about this much talked about cashless policy of ours, the currency redesign, the CBN. Lately, the National Assembly, we understand the Senate did advise that the CBN urgently, as a matter of fact, to extend this January 31st deadline that they were supposed to for the withdrawal of the old currency and extend it to 2023, June 2023. And there are lots of people who think, whoa, wait a minute. It appears as though politicians just want to take advantage of this and ensure that they stop the CBN from carrying out what they want to do. In fact, some citizens think, okay, if the CBN goes through with this, it will help to a great extent to guarantee or ensure that nobody tries to influence voters with funds, that each person's vote will count. How do you see this?
Well, thank you very much. I think the National Assembly is carrying out part of their responsibility to the public by listening to discussions and complaints where they are put together, or maybe some of the senators have listened to their constituencies to see whether this is really desired at this particular point in time. And the CBN has a responsibility also to ensure that they come up with monetary policies. If the CBN is saying that there are about almost 2.73 trillion of cash that is not banked in the country, and if those statistics or figures are correct, then there is a need for the CBN to encourage banking by even most of the unbanked people in the rural settings, and some of them in the urban areas as well. But in terms of the time limitation, we have had experience in Nigeria that people wait till the last minute to obey or change their attitude about most of the policies that will move the country forward. Or, when you look at it critically, it appears that even if you give December next year as a date, then most of the monies will start coming in by that December or November. So people quickly forget. And if you want a policy to work, there must be a timeline which is reasonable. And I think in terms of the cashless policy, I believe that poses a great challenge to everyday Nigerian in a way.
But do you think that there is a vote buying challenge that needs to be addressed in the country?
Well, you see, every time we have an election, some new problems are thrown into the public arena. The issue we are discussing now, in terms of electoral issues and problems, is vote buying. And we have discussed severally in different fora that how do we end vote buying? Is it by this limitation of cash withdrawals, or is it through other means? And it's been concluded that, look, it's a long-term project. If Nigerians are not gainfully employed, regardless of the policy that you put in place, people will find a way to circumvent such policy. If you say you can't withdraw more than 20,000 and you want electronic banking to come into the fore, there will be ways, unless you make it illegal, that you can't transfer money to another party. That is when there is a problem of saying, okay, this cashless policy will reduce the issue of vote buying.
Okay. Let's bring in Mr. Bala on this one as well. Daniel, what do you think of this?
All right. Thank you for having me, and good morning. You know, if you look at our election and electoral processes and our history since 1999, one area that has been the bane of democratic growth in Nigeria is the conduct of elections, which has largely been touted as not free and fair over the years. That's why every successive government make effort to push the envelope towards a better electoral process, beginning from 1999. And you remember when Yar'Adua came, he had acknowledged the process that brought him was flawed, and he moved a step further towards a better election. Jonathan came and pushed the envelope much further, even when it was at the risk of him losing the election. And then when President Buhari came, the amendment to the Electoral Act was pushed before the 2019 election. It was opposed by APC. And this time around, they opposed it, but unfortunately, eventually we had the Electoral Act amended. So now, what we have seen as progressive growth towards a better election is, number one, there used to be voters, vote snatching, ballot stuffing, and all of that. Now, when they introduced the Electoral Act amendment, it sort of took care of the idea of snatching of ballot by the fact that there is electronic transmission of results once it is the results are cast and counted and confirmed at the polling unit. Another step that is added to it is this introduction of the bank policy, which seeks to stop vote buying, because vote buying is one of the major, if not major, problem that is affecting free and fair process. A free and fair process is a process where the voter choose a candidate not under any form of inducement. Ordinarily, that is to be accepted by everyone without a doubt. Unfortunately, there is a party called All Progressives Congress that is consistently opposing this idea. So what CBN policy introduced, or what it seeks to achieve, is to stop bullion van politics. A bullion van politics is a politics that the election is influenced by means of inducement. And the way in law we say, if everybody's hands is clean, why should one party oppose that? Because it's a cross-board kind of policy that you are not permitted to use money to induce the people. And one way by which that is achieved is through this CBN policy. Now, here is the point. You have noticed that the CBN governor is under terrific attack. Our position as People's Democratic Party is not to interfere with the cost of investigation, the course of investigation. It is not to say he's guilty or not, because he's not even a member of our party. He almost ran for president in APC. Our point is that whatever law enforcement will do to him, they can continue to do for as long as the eye is on the ball, the focus. Because if you look at the CBN directive to the Money Deposit Bank and other financial institutions, you will see in the opening words, it says the President Muhammadu Buhari's policy. This policy goes beyond Emefiele. And this is a challenge to President Buhari, that your legacy in this electoral practice will be destroyed if the CBN policy is interrupted because of what is happening at the moment. The senator who moved that motion for the extension of the restriction comes from my own senatorial district. And what a paradox that our own people that are touted as poor and displaced, you are now giving a reason why this thing should be extended because it will affect them. Where would have they? You've already said before now that they don't have money. You've already said that they are not even in their homes. So how do you juxtapose in one breath saying they don't have money, they are displaced, in another breath saying extend it so that my people can access money? But in actual fact, what they are doing is that there are certain individuals that have piled up money somewhere and they intend to use it on the day of election as is the custom that they have. But this policy will destroy the legacy of Buhari if they ever allow it to be sidetracked or to be succumbed by virtue of extension. Look at it this way. The last day of January is the deadline. Now, why don't we all agree the policy should stay at least for less than a month? After election, you can bring all the pressures in the National Assembly to have it restored. But the whole idea is that we must protect the sanctity of the voter and the sanctity of their choices and decisions by ensuring that this cashless policy is applied to the extent that it presents a free, fair, and credible process in Nigeria. And all the electorates of these people who are fighting by all means to stop that must be aware that these people do not wish them well.
All right, let me get Senator to respond to the allegations you made against the APC. Said your party is resisting this because you want to buy votes.
Well, I think that is rather unfortunate that the gentleman is attributing the extension to APC or any form of resistance to the cashless policy. It's just that this is the political season. But otherwise, you notice that before Nigerians trooped out to go and register for the national identity numbers, the Minister of Communication had to compel that those who do not have name numbers should not have their phones working. So everybody rushed there. Initially, he gave a time period, and subsequently there were extensions. So why did we not tie that to politics? These are policies that come every now and then to improve on many functionalities of the government. Now, the idea of a cashless policy did not just start. I remember under Sanusi, the POS issue was not really catching up.
Yeah, but it's about this currency redesign.
Well,
which he says they will limit, they want to bring in funds that are not within the banking sector, bring it into the banking sector so that anyone who has money stashed somewhere, if they get it illegally, they won't be able to deploy it to influence the elections.
Well, again, I don't know whether there's a policy that says you can't bring your old currency.
No.
The door is open.
Yeah.
So if you bring the same money into the banking system, the way to spend it or expend it will now be the challenge. Now, there is nothing wrong in somebody who has tagged money in, somewhere, and you are now told, bring your money to the bank. So how does that affect a politician? If you say, bring your money to the bank, and you have merely redesigned the currency, you still have access to the new notes somehow, if they make that available. But right now,
if you bring in a certain amount of money,
yes,
you won't get the same amount of money back immediately.
Of course, that is part. The issue of not getting it back immediately, I think there is still that caveat there. You can get as much money as you want back. You only pay some tax on it, or a levy. So that is what is on the ground.
The CCP said they will make it they will fill plenty forms. EFCC says we will ask questions as to where those monies came from. So if you want to withdraw a very large amount of money, if you cannot explain where those monies are coming from,
Yes.
then you might be into their net.
Ordinarily, there is nothing wrong in asking a person, where did you get your money from? How did you make it? It's part of ways to curb money laundering, to curb corruption. So those are already there. It's got nothing to do with this political environment. If the CBN says that, okay, you put your money, but you cannot get it back, I don't think that can be policy that will be commendable. It's your money. If you put it in a bank, you should be able to get your money back. But asking how you got the money is a legitimate question, which everybody should support. Because other than that,
you support this?
Yeah, of course I support the idea that if you put tons of cash in the bank, you should be able to show how you got the money, what work did you do, and all that. But that is still it's lacking in the society, by and large.
All right, so Mr. Bola, having heard him, doesn't that suggest that it is not all members of the APC that oppose this? Because you say some of them, it appeared as though you painted a blanket picture. Yeah. And then if it were in the Senate, did you see enough resistance from senators representing the PDP, for instance, to justify perhaps if anyone says PDP also resisted this in terms of their senators if they didn't push back enough?
No. The fact is, and with the greatest respect to the distinguished senator, you cannot agree with a policy and yet say in the same breath that you don't want it to be applied now, you want it to be applied much later. I mean, it is inconsistency. One fact is clear. The distinguished has admitted that this policy will stop money laundering. He admitted that this policy will enhance good governance. So if you have admitted, the point is, and you are talking about politics, the point is, why is it that you don't want its application now? That's point number one. Number two, and most importantly, Chamberlain, is that APC as a party, they have made concerted effort to depart from President Buhari. In fact, by their conduct and their actions, they are on a course to destroy the legacy of President Buhari. Because if you remember, when this policy was introduced, people were trying to oppose it. President Buhari doubled down on it and said there is no going back on that. That's point number one. Number two, why is it that throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is only members of one political party that are opposing it? Chamberlain, I challenge you. There is no political party anywhere in the National Assembly or outside of the National Assembly that is opposing that. In fact, if you do a polling, you will discover that 90% or more of the people who are enthusiastic about voting in this election are promoting the idea of this policy so they can exercise their franchise devoid of influence. So why is it that one political party in particular that is opposing the application of this policy? Remember, the central bank is not a member of PDP. The government is not a government of PDP. We have no influence whatsoever in the administration of government in this administration. It is an APC-led government. But I am telling you, and it bears repeating, that the APC party and the APC campaign are on a strong course to destroy the legacy of Buhari. They've started already where they departed from him on many issues of policy. And now the burden is on Buhari. You're rounding up and you're going back. If you allow politicians to destroy your very legacy, because every president that came before Buhari, they left a legacy behind. Jonathan left a legacy.
Let me add this to Mr. Bola before Mr. Senator comes in. Now, how do you say that the APC is hell-bent on opposing this policy when the CBN governor, before this policy came through, you saw several pictures, several scenarios, meetings. In fact, he launched that with the president's approval. The president did support it. He did say yes. And he has consistently said he will ensure or work towards ensuring credible elections. Now, if he, as the leader of the party, and then CBN governor, who many have said is a member of the party, are supporting this policy, how can we then say that the party is opposing this policy when it comes from them?
Which leads me to the point that I made earlier, that APC as a party is strongly and very ferociously departing from Buhari. They are, look at their manifesto, they are trying to create a two parallel worldview about these governors. If not, if Buhari is the leader of the party, as you have said, and the CBN governor is a member of the executive branch of the party, of the government to which Buhari is leading, why are they contradicting him? Why are they not in Villa thanking him and supporting him for introducing a reform that would present a free and fair process? Why is it that the senator in the National Assembly that moved that motion is an APC member? Why is it that all of the individuals who are presently, whether in the National Assembly or outside of their National Assembly, I see a couple of them in TV station opposing this idea and asking for extension? Why is it that they come from one particular political party? Here is the answer, Chamberlain. The answer is that they know that the Nigerian people will not vote them. Let me just land. They know that they are not popular. There is not a single person in this country that wants, in my view, apart from those who are probably hallucinated towards their direction, that will want a nation of increased insecurity, a nation of bad economy, a nation where corruption has now become like bread and butter. Nobody. And if you want to test your popularity, you can see the way in all fronts, the use of law enforcement in the various states to intimidate opposition political party, to the point the president had to tax. In fact, even yesterday, the president again re-echoed that I have again told all law enforcement to be apolitical, not to influence and not to intimidate the opposition. Why is it that the president consistently is on the path of a free and fair process, but the party is consistently working at cross purpose? This is the valid point that I said. They are working against the legacy of the president. And the international community are seeing it. The president went to United Nations when he made that commitment. Last week, he was in Washington, D.C. He reiterated the same commitment. In fact, he told Biden that he's going to leave a legacy of free and fair election. Now, those who are opposing and are asking for the extension, they are anti the legacy of President Buhari. So in actual fact, the person on trial is President Buhari and his legacy. It's not the party. Every president, even when Jonathan was the sitting president, he ensured that the process is free and fair. You have to do your best, even if you are the leader of the party, to ensure that a free and fair process is conducted so that the will of the people should have its way and not the will of bullion van or the will of money.
Can I? I think when we are addressing facts, we should leave out politics as much as possible. There is no single proof anywhere. Just because a senator moved a motion that this policy might affect the larger population. I just gave you an example of the national identity registration. When the minister noticed that the policy became a problem to the Nigerian population, extensions were given. I remember there were about 3 extensions under the compulsory name telephone registration combination. And we should look at facts. The fact that the people are saying there will be a lot of difficulty. A senator came out, there will be a lot of difficulty. It is not, it's not a made-up story. You can be rest assured that policies like this elsewhere take time before implementation. And so when a senator came up with that, okay, we need an extension for 6 months. If you can give us the facts and state the fact that, okay, all Nigerians have returned all their monies to the central bank, or the fact that you are asked to bring your money to the bank now means that APC does not like that idea. and that APC is the only party that has money to spend, as if those in the other political parties are not planning on spending money. And I've never seen a place, even in the US, somehow, there are people, they put buses on the road on election day to go and pick people to come and vote and express their franchise. So if, for example, APC now sends out buses, local government by local government, to start carrying people to vote, then you now start saying, oh, it's APC, it's APC. Whereas you are not disturbed or debarred from making the same provision for members of your party. So for us, when we begin to say, oh, APC has done APC, is it not the same APC that has this electoral reform, the same president, that's okay, rather than what we had in the past, we now want electronic transmission of results. Every step taken by APC under President Buhari has been to promote transparency in the electoral process. But when you now start saying, oh, APC is the one opposing the policy of the president, how? The president is not a PDP member, he's an APC member. Every good thing that he has done is to the credit of his party.
Well,
so
moment,
I don't understand,
you
know, where you're coming from. Yes.
Right. Pardon me. I just want to, because a lot of other issues for us to touch on, but I'd like to quickly go to Mr. Bwala now. Two issues quickly, yes. Just for you to clear, Mr. Bwala. First, you said that, I mean, this is essentially the APC against the policy, but are you aware that that motion in the Senate was actually seconded and supported by a senator in your party, the PDP?
But most importantly, if you listen to what the distinguished said.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Did you say you are aware? Are you aware that it was supported by a member of your party, the PDP?
I said I'm not aware, except there's a problem with the audio in the studio.
Also, I didn't get that part. So essentially that means for you and for Nigerians listening that it's not just the APC. Even the PDP is involved as well.
You see, you don't do cross-examination. When you ask a question, allow the guest to respond to it. That way, the viewers will be able to make a very good decision on the basis of that. When you ask the senator, you allowed him to answer. When you ask me, allow me to answer. I said, first of all, I'm not aware. But most importantly, that if you listen to what the distinguished senator has said, when he talked about if it is the policy and PDP and other members of political party not going to use money, he cited an example of buses. Fine. The CBN policy is not stopping you from using money. Use it through financial institution. That way, the financial institution can easily trace any money laundering and crime, any form of crime. That is the thing. We are saying that the policy was introduced by Buhari. In fact, sometimes I even find it difficult saying it was introduced by APC or Buhari, because Buhari, in the twilight of his administration, is trying to be a statesman. He wants to leave a legacy. But these people, in fact, allegedly, it is even said that some politicians have stashed hundreds of billions that they intend to use
so you're
on the doomsday.
Wide, my question now. My question was actually just simple. Are you aware? And you had answered. I just wanted you to answer. That's why I came in again. It was just simple.
Yes, but I wanted to react to what the
my question was said. Just, you know, we've been going back and forth, and because of time, I'm sure you know there are other issues to raise. Secondly, the point about, you know, the bullion van that you talk about, referencing that as perhaps a mode of vote buying, and I recall very well that you were in the APC when the bullion van story.
That is not important. Don't take us back. We're talking about election coming.
You made, Mr. Bwala. You can't be the one asking the questions and the one answering at the same time. We're having a conversation. So the question then is, if you have an issue against the bullion van, which I mean imagines a reference to vote buying, why didn't you raise the issue then? Because you campaigned vehemently for this party on air, on the field. So did you have an issue with it then? Why didn't you raise that issue? Why now?
So this question you have asked is called a lazy question, even in journalism. The fact in issue, we're talking about election coming up for the policy.
Personal.
No, allow me to speak now. Lagos, learn from Chamberlain. Chamberlain is a veteran journalist. When he asks, he allows people to answer. Allow somebody to answer.
I'm not making the question personal. It's a point you made.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is I'm responding to your question. If you ask and you cannot permit answering, then you are not asking a guest. You must allow the guests to answer. The answer is, it is irrelevant whether I was in APC or not. What is because it's called a destructive strategy. You want to bring an item to take away the fact in issue. The fact in issue is election is at the door. CBN introduced a policy. Do you agree? If yes, why? If no, why? It has nothing to do with personality. You are making it an issue by bringing my name into the matter. And I am telling you, it is not relevant whether I was in APC, in fact, whether I was even living in Budolion Street. It doesn't matter. Whether I was even bearing the candidate of the party as my surname. It doesn't matter. What matters is the policy is being introduced. A particular political party is opposing to the fulfillment of the policy, have not been able to advance a cogent reason why it should be extended. I am making the case that anybody who will want an extension is the person who will do money laundering, is the person who will do vote buying, is the person who does not believe in the legacy that President Buhari wants to establish. Right. And I'm giving element of fact to support the point that I am making. That's the most important thing.
And well, it's important to state the fact as it is, and I just stated it. You were in the APC. That's
no, you didn't state it. In fact,
whether or not it is relevant or not is for the people to decide. It's interesting you think it's not relevant. But let me just yield to my colleague Bukola now to raise the other issues. Bukola, it's over to you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Kayode. I'd like to come to Senator Arishi just before we leave the Naira redesign policy. You were arguing earlier on that this is a political seizing and that during the registration for the national identification number and when Nigerians called for an extension, there was no opposition to it. But would you compare, tomatoes to potatoes in this regard? Because this is, strategic and close. It has proximity to the elections. And senators in your party who have raised opposition to it have not quite provided reasons, for the calls for the extension. Yes, Senator Arishi.
Okay, you are back now. Thank you very much for that question. When I compared the two, they are very strategic policies of knowing how many Nigerians do we really have as a country. This is the foundation for any economic planning and development. Whatever we want to plan for our school children, we need to know statistics of how many people are turning 21 or between 21 and 25 who are likely to start having children, maybe in 2 years, 3 years. So you can project and plan. It's the fundamental basis of any economic development. Ditto the currency management functionalities of the CBN. Now, when we are now talking of changing currency, I'm sure we have changed currency in Nigeria in the past. And all these issues did not arise. That's why I said this is the political season. Maybe the timing could be an issue. And for us, if APC now starts saying, "Oh,
pardon me," then are you saying? Are you saying that the need to accommodate the unbanked in this policy and the extension is far more important than the security component and the calls for it to deter vote buying? Is that your argument? And perhaps the argument of senators in your party?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the CBN purely is doing their job. If we have as much as 2.7 trillion naira traced to the informal sector or not in the banking sector, then there is cause for worry because such funds are not serving Nigerians' interest. If we have those monies in the banks, accessibility to loans will become a lot more liberal.
Senator, that's not the answer.
People who want to develop their business.
That's not the answer to the question. Which for you is more important?
What was the question? Maybe I didn't get a question then.
Which for you is more...
Maybe I didn't get a question.
Yes. Which for you is more important? Accessibility to the policy by mostly the unbanked, or the security component, and especially the need to deter vote buying in the coming elections?
Oh, well, if you're talking about security components, are you describing the security features on the currency? Because I don't think that the CBN came out to say, well, we want to bank the unbanked because of security. I'm not sure I heard that, you know, as one of the reasons for that policy. But if you are describing security features, I don't really see much in terms of, but it's been said that this is presenting better security features than the previous Naira. So if that is the case, it's another good reason to actually change the currency. But when we are talking of the unbanked people, and we are talking of money for buying votes, I have said that this, you know, we had problems of confidence in the relay, the way results were being relayed in the past. The way you have to go and count in the ward, move it to the local government, move it from there, a number of things happen. And Nigerians saw this, and they said, okay, we want instant transmission of results.
All right.
That has been achieved.
Gentlemen, we need to wrap up. Pardon
yes.
me. But if we can do this in less than 60 seconds for both of you each. And Mr. Bola, let me start with you. This morning, it's been widely reported that the group of 5 governors have met with the APC presidential candidate, and appears they will be pitching their tent with him because they say they want to form a government of national unity. Isn't this going to be a big dent on your party, giving the APC a lot more leverage to clinch the presidential ticket, to win the presidential elections?
Because I have usually, whenever they take a position, they grant interview, you will hear them and you will see them. But at this point, we haven't heard them, we haven't seen them. So our understanding is that they are not cowed by anybody to say, why are they not speaking or whatever. It's rumor. I'm in London here. I understand that the candidate of APC is even here and that they came up, but there's no any news around it. That's point number 1. But most importantly, point number 2 is that if you have noticed, all the campaigns so far, it is PDP that has consistently been leading in all of election processes. And if you have seen Katsina, for example, rally that we have, it is enough message for APC to know that there is a switch from the APC to the PDP, because that's the home state of the president. And that crowd that was gathered in Katsina, there is not a single campaign in this season that gathered a crowd up to that. That means the people are speaking. And yet, the 5 governors that they talked about are not with us. Yet, you can see that we have not been deterred, we have not been inhibited in all of our movement. Even the recent polling that came from this day suggests that we are in the lead, in spite of all of that. PDP is poised to win.
Okay, I didn't expect you to say anything less about you winning. Neither will I expect APC to say they won't win. But, Senator, if they were really supporting your candidate, why did they just join the party as well, instead of staying within the PDP?
Oh, there are a number of complications. First of all, when you look at Rivers State, for example, there's a candidate for PDP waiting, who wants to be governor. And take it or leave it, Wike is very popular in Rivers. So it's very likely his party, PDP, would be able to win the governorship seat.
Okay.
Now, you look at other places.
In conclusion?
If in conclusion, I think I would just suggest that the PDP people should sit up and work. Because the work that Ashiwaju and his team and the APC in general, the work they are doing is very glaring, even to, the lady side in mind, that this is the party to beat in Nigeria.
All right,
and
gentlemen.
he's referring to Katsina. Then if it is Katsina that is the example of where it's going to win, I feel very, I don't know how to describe it.
We'll leave it on that note then.
Yeah.
We have to thank both of you for coming on. Senator Ayo Arishe, a member of the APC and former chairman, Senate Committee on Privatization, as well as Daniel Bola, who is the spokesperson Atiku Okowa, Presidential Campaign Council of the PDP. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on. And I know you had a very Merry Christmas, but a good New Year ahead for both of you. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.